I'm terrible at keeping up a schedule, so I'm recording at nighttime now. I think I saw this article yesterday that Zurich is the most expensive city in the world currently. And you know what? I mean, there's a reason I don't like Zurich. Just a slow clap, not even just for Zurich, but like Switzerland as a whole, because let me show you. Zurich, Geneva, Basel, Lausanne, Lugano and Bern are also on there. 6 out of 10 cities in that ranking are in Switzerland. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I know we're like a rich country and obviously expensive, but holy shit, Switzerland needs to take a chill. In relation to this ranking, I actually found this article, or more like a podcast. Children are often forgotten. According to Numbeo, 6 Swiss cities are among the most expensive in the world. First place belongs to Zurich. The high cost exacerbates social inequalities. So I listened to this podcast and I made some notes so I can explain to you what it's about. Because it's in Swiss German. They don't have an English version of it, but I think it's very interesting and insightful. So essentially, this author is interviewing a local sociologist, and she's trying to figure out, is something going wrong inside our country? Does it affect like the difference between poor and rich people? And how does this affect, well, the people as a whole, I guess. A little bit of background information. They do establish that we're a rich country, and in a rich country, you potentially have a big difference between poor and rich. The sociologist also describes what poor means in Switzerland, and he essentially calls it lack of social security. And I have some thoughts on this, but I'll come back to this in a bit. He's also explaining that the spread between poor and rich has been spreading more or less since like the 70s, 80s, especially since the fall of the Berlin Wall. And that basically came with the shift towards more profit and more success, which basically affected those who didn't have much to begin with more than others. In general, it tends to affect migrants and singles more, divorcees, and also kids, interestingly enough, which is why this article is called that way. The thing is, poverty here in Switzerland is not particularly visible. So we don't have a whole lot of beggars, we don't have a lot of homeless people, and if we do tend to still tuck them away and hide them. Which basically means that we do have a lot of things in place to keep people from living on the streets. I want to show you this AI summary on Google as a reference, and obviously take it with a grain of salt. In 2023, approximately 8.1% of the Swiss population were affected by income poverty. And I want you especially to pay attention to the bottom line, safety net. Social transfers are crucial, reducing the theoretical poverty rate from nearly 31.7% to 8.1%. This essentially means that technically over 30% are poor in Switzerland. It's just the government subsidizes them, so they are not statistically poor. Another thing that's worth pointing out are the working poor, and the number there sits around 170,000. And in a podcast, they actually pointed out an interesting fact that that's not actually 170,000 people, it's households. So if you take that into consideration and potential actual families and kids being counted in, that's actually more like double. I mean, that is a fairly small number, but that number has been increasing and is now potentially increasing even more due to the current conditions. For example, the rent, especially in bigger cities, it's ridiculous. It's almost unpayable at this point. I'm thinking as well, who are the people that actually need to live in the city? And I can promise you, it's not the office clerks, it's people working in hospitality or in healthcare or cleaning stuff, people that need to work nights, people that need to work shifts. You have to think about the logistics of this, because somebody working shifts, they need to get home somehow, and the most affordable way to do this in Switzerland is usually public transport, but there is no public transport at night, so it's unreliable for a lot of people. But then owning a car is just not feasible financially. So these people rely on living somewhere near their workplace. And you know, they already get paid fucking peanuts. Yes, of course, in Switzerland you get more of a salary compared to other countries, but you do have to consider the expenses. And it is something that came up in that podcast, but I don't think it's been talked about enough. Like rent being one problem, but I think healthcare or health insurance rather is another. That's honestly a topic where I just really don't understand why we have the regulations that we do. It's mandatory for us to have health insurance, but it is not spread out fairly. Everybody pays the same, which is not even the case, but let's keep this simple. Let's say it's 400 francs and everybody pays the same. It doesn't matter if you earn 2,000 a month, it doesn't matter if you earn 20,000 a month, you're gonna pay 400, that's it. For something that's mandatory and is technically meant to support those who cannot afford it, I don't think that's fair. Like, obviously, there are government subsidies in place for those who cannot afford those 400, but it's still not enough. It's not good enough. And what's even worse, healthcare is at its limits. Costs are going up and up. People are going to the doctor more and more. I wonder why. The sociologist mentioned this as well, because being poor is really stressful, and I'm talking from personal experience too. It's really stressful if you don't know if you're gonna be able to pay rent next month, let alone put food on your table. It's obviously terrible for your health. It's obviously gonna strain the healthcare system even more the more people struggle with this. In the podcast, they also discussed how to fix this, and the three things the sociologist suggested is better salaries, actually do minimum wage, livable wage, essentially, which I think is very important because personally, I worked in hospitality for the past, I think, 6 years, and the minimum wage there is a joke. It's honestly a joke, especially if you work in Zurich and have to live there as well. The second suggestion he made is social security for everyone, meaning that it's not just for the handicapped, it's not just for the old people, it's not just for the divorcees or whatever, but that you extend this aid to everyone so that there is no question on who is eligible, essentially. Not just that everybody could financially profit if they were in a bad situation, but that they also know what their rights actually are. And the third suggestion he made is a less is more approach, because Switzerland does tend to lean a little hard into competitiveness and success and profit. Not everything needs to be profitable and not everybody needs to be successful or competitive. I do agree with those strategies, especially with a better salary one, but I do also need to point out that rent and health insurance are two really big and really important topics to consider here. I mean, those are the two biggest expenses for any individual living here in Switzerland, and they have been on the rise for the past several years to the point that it's actually kind of painful to pay them at this point. Especially health insurance, I think it's been going up by like 4 to 5% for the past few years, maybe even since COVID, I'm not sure. But that's ridiculous. That's a lot of money, especially for those who don't have a lot. And that is one of those expenses that is pushing more and more people into this, I guess, working poor bracket where they struggle to actually pay those bills. Another thing that the sociologist brought up is that we should come together as a community and support each other. And on a political level, I think there's always been a lot of resistance in that area. And I agree to a fault because I am in a position myself where I do need government support, but at the same time, I wish I didn't. And I think our goal shouldn't be to support more people. I think we should make life more affordable in Switzerland. I mean, again, the theoretical poverty rate is above 30%. We should reduce that. And when we do that, we can focus more on those remaining 8% that actually need help. And in my opinion, you would do that by tackling the biggest expenses, which at the moment are rent and health insurance. I think that's all I have for you today. Give me a like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I will see you next time.